来就是参加我们这次的论坛今天的主题呢，就是大家应该也都知道是全球化与跨国企业交流论坛今天我们非常荣幸的请来了几位非常权威的嘉宾。首先呢，就是我们剑桥Judge 商学院高级讲师张瑾博士。第二位呢是Norwich 商学院高级讲师熊榆博士。然后熊榆博士呢，同时还是英国科技部顾问和2012年我们伦敦奥运会的火炬手。第三位呢是来自这个对外经贸大学访学团代表发言人是蒲军教授，大家欢迎。当然，同时呢，我们也欢迎来自这个对外经贸大学访学团的各位校领导、老师还有同学们。相信大家对今天的这个论坛主题都已经有了深入的了解，所以我在这儿就话不多说，首先就请张瑾老师来给大家谈一下这个全球化的问题。
Well, welcome to Cambridge. I'm 张瑾，中文名字叫张瑾。I teach in the Judge Business School. My area is international business, globalization and international business. Also, in terms of area, is global and China. Basically, my research is on the globalization challenges for companies from developing countries to catch up, particularly in China. So today's topic is about globalization and multinational companies. The theme is about how globalizing companies, multinational companies, how they look at the global market. What is the impact of the strategic outlook of these multinational companies? And it's only about 15 minutes, so I will talk about 10 minutes and we open for Q&A for 5 minutes. Is that okay? So what is globalization? So you are from a university that is in international trade, investment. So what does globalization for you? For your study, for your future career. What is globalization? Well, academically, if we define globalization, we can define globalization in dozens of ways in terms of economics, sociology, politics, and go on. We can write a big paper about globalization. But today, we are talking about what does globalization mean for multinational companies. So basically, there is a huge debate there about globalization. The first, I'll summarize in 3 views. The first view was proposed by a professor from Harvard Business School in the early 1980s, just at the outset of the globalization process. Professor Levitt wrote a seminal paper called The Globalization of Markets, in which the basic idea is that, well, the globalization will make the world homogeneous. So what does that mean for companies? Well, if the globalization force will homogenize the world, then the global companies' task, their work is to make standardized products. Everybody in the world, they want to have the same products, the same service. So that's easy for companies. Produce the same products, then you sell it. That's no problem. Okay, that's a very simple solution. So the idea is globalization makes the world homogeneous, same. The solution, standardize the products. Very simple. However, a few years later, another group of researchers, led by Professor Alan Rudman, they proposed a different idea, and they published a book called The End of Globalization. They said, no, forget it. Globalization is not about homogenization. Globalization is all about regionalization. The world is not going to be the same. The world is going to be regionalized. Now, their methodology is they calculate the percentage of sales of all the global 500, Fortune 500 companies, and look at their distribution of their sales. So they found that the distribution of their sales in the 1980s and later in 2000, that decade, almost a similar distribution, which highly concentrated in North America, European Union, and Asia. So that's their view. They said empirical evidence told us that that's a reality. So the solution, companies must regionalize. Companies must produce products that are suitable for these regional markets. So this is a refute to that homogenization process. Now then, in 2003, another professor from Harvard University, now he's moved to a business school in Spain, and his view is that, hold on, after almost 3 decades of globalization, the world is not globalized. To the best, we can call it semi-globalization process, which means the world is full of differences and diversity. Okay? The solution is that companies must work on the similarities of the world market, in the meantime also work on the differences. And he said the solution is that don't be afraid of differences. The world is full of differences, and try to utilize, work on the differences and produce products that for these customers. So that's the reality. So basically, there are 3 views to look at globalization, and that hugely impact on multinational companies' strategic outlook. So if we summarize that, we can find that the semi-globalization view and the regional view, they both share the same view that the world is globalizing with companies' internationalization process, and there's no denying there's an integration process, meaning homogenization, but in the meantime, it's full of differences. So the world basically is a semi-globalizing world. So what does this mean? It means that the companies working in the globalization era, they are facing 2 competing forces strategically. On the one hand, there's a pressure for cost reduction, and that can be achieved through achieving economies of scale, reducing cost, which means global integration. Okay? And then if you achieve integrate your markets, for example, production, and then you can reduce your costs. And then the second pressure is pressure for local differentiation, responsive to different cultures, different society, to create revenue, to sell to these consumers. Okay? So these are the 2 pressures, basically, and we can map the 3 strategic outlook onto this framework. Now let's look at what are the strategies. Here, there are 4 strategies that multinational companies employ in the era of globalization, and there's a trend that moving towards one particular strategic approach. Okay, we'll look at them in turn. The first is called so-called home replication strategy, and in this quadrant, we can see that these are the commodity products. They are not subject to global scale efficiencies. For example, cement. Why cement cannot be globally produced efficiently? Because the value to weight ratio is too low. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Now, what about this strategy? Because here it's all about local global integration. This strategy is called localization strategy, and companies must customize their products and marketing towards that local peculiarities like retail. Whatever Walmart is, however they're so successful in the American market or European market, they must adapt to Chinese people's preference to shopping from market stalls. You won't find that anywhere in Europe or in America. So they must adapt to local people's preferences. Now, how about high global integration? In this quadrant, we can see global standardization strategy. So in the end, Professor Levitt's view is not wrong at all, but albeit that it's for particular industries. For example, semiconductor industries. You can do global integrations, economies of scale, to achieve that, to reduce the cost, and you don't have to worry too much about preference, consumers' preference. Well, semiconductors, for mobile phones, for your cameras, they are the same semiconductors. There's no like, I like these chips or you like that chips. There's no customization. There's only customization for particular categories of products. And finally, this is called transnational cost adaptive strategies. So this is a kind of middle way, if you like, fit very well with the semi-globalization proposal. Because in this strategy, companies need to achieve global standardization for their products or global integration for their functional production, functional activities. And in the meantime, they have to keep in mind consumers' preferences in different markets. Now, today, when we look at the Fortune 500 companies, most of the companies have already moved into this direction. They have achieved that. Okay. Now let's look at one particular example. How about Coca-Cola? Let's look at Coca-Cola's sales distribution across the world. North America, 21%, Asia, including China, 18%. And then Europe, 14%, South America, 29%, Africa, 18%. So it's quite a globalized company. It's quite evenly distributed. Now let's look at their brand. Now, everybody is so familiar with this Coca-Cola. This is, of course, Coca-Cola. Now, what are these? These are the different languages of the Coca-Cola brand. Now, this is already differentiation. Language is a big deal. I know your English is brilliant, it's excellent. But language is a great, big deal in international trade and international business. Okay. But how about that? How many brands, these are all brands, how many brands you can recognize on this dashboard? Of course, the first, you all know Fanta, Sprite, Coca-Cola. But how about this brand? Anybody can tell me what is Ciel? Ciel in French means the sky. It's a bottle of mineral water. And it was introduced in Mexico. Now it's sold across Mexico, Morocco, and Angola. And they are owned by Coca-Cola. Now, how about this brand? I'm sure you know this brand. Exactly. And this is Coca-Cola. Where was it developed? Sorry? Wow, surprise and surprise. Developed in Japan. And then sold now across Asia. It's Coca-Cola. It's not cool. Okay, it's just a brand. How about this? Now you are in England. Have you bought this, Innocent? Do you like it? It's a fruit smoothie. It's one of my favorites. Okay. And it was actually developed by 3 graduates from St. John's College in Cambridge. And they were engineering students here. Okay. And they were so successful. And they quit their job in the city. They were investment bankers and working in the bank. And they thought it's a great idea to create something new in smoothies. And they gave up their job, developed this product. What happened in the end? Bought by Coca-Cola. And when they sold part of the shares to Coca-Cola, there was an online petition against this selling of their shares because they thought, oh, this is such a lovely, brand created by Cambridge graduates. Coca-Cola is something horrible, global giants. How could this happen? It's supposed to be these companies should grow and grow. So that's a reality. The message here is that by differentiating, by acquiring local brands, Coca-Cola has a 2-tier brand strategy and a 2-tier product strategy. Coca-Cola has a core non-alcoholic sparkling beverage brand, the Coca-Cola we are familiar with, and they are global integration. Everywhere in the world you buy a can of Coca-Cola, a bottle of Coca-Cola, they're the same. However, in the meantime, here you buy Innocent, in China, in Japan, in South Korea you buy Cool, and then in South America, in Africa you buy CL. Okay, these are 2-tier brands. But that's not enough. that's just brand and that's just product. In the meantime, companies, if we reflect on that global integration and differentiation framework, there's a pressure for companies to globalize their value chain. What does this mean? I'm sure you know the value chain idea. What does value chain mean? It means company input and then achieve output. Input from R&D, production to sales and marketing, supported by human resources, logistics, financial function, planning function, these so-called support functions, sort of Porter's standard value chain thing. But in the 30 years of globalization, companies increasingly globalize, not just selling products, globalize their value chain. Meaning their value chain, for example, in China has become the workshop of the world. Why? It's because it produced so much, it has become the production base for multinational companies. And this production base is part of the value chain. So by get entry into this global value chain, China achieved a lot as the production base. But if we break up the value chain, map it onto this framework, we can see after 30 years globalization, what are they up to? The global companies, they now basically what they do with global integration. They do the functional areas of accounting, finance, IT, procurement, and audit. Now, who can tell me why they can achieve that global integration? Meaning, it's a global network. They do according to the same standard, the practice. Why? It's precisely because of information technology. Okay. Global companies previously, for example, a company I researched, BP, British Petroleum, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, they are operating in 120 countries in the world. In each country, they have an accountant employed by themselves. Now it's all outsourced. And they don't need it. Why? It's because of information technology. The headquarters in London, they can observe using computers and monitoring processes, and they place the servers strategically across the world in Singapore, in Europe, in North America, and the headquarters in London can monitor real time what's going on in terms of finance in the world. Okay, so that's, how about local differentiation? It's still about product differentiation. Now that's the industry characteristics come in. Semiconductor industries, you don't need to worry about that. But for companies like Coca-Cola, you have to do product differentiation. Okay. So this is all about creating revenue locally. That's very important. How about this? Is reduce costs. For example, even including core value chain activities like R&D. After the globalization of production, now we've reached a stage that the global companies, the Fortune 500 companies, they are increasingly globalize their R&D activities in the world. And fortunately, China has also become a center of R&D activities of these multinational companies. Now, in the middle is a combination of integration and the local differentiation. Okay? So, I'll just summarize my presentation today, is that globalization, instead of homogenizing global markets, actually it opened up a lot of cultural or social diversities in this progress. So what companies do, in the meantime, they produce products that are homogeneous, they can sell across the world, carry the key marketing message, and in the meantime acquiring lots of local products to incorporate into their product portfolio with the branding strategy, which is called the two-tier branding strategy. In the meantime, the value chain globalization process produced a disaggregated value chain across the world. However, the backbone is globally integrated from finance, R&D, and auditing, procurement especially. So there's no optimal strategy for multinational companies. Although most of the companies of Fortune 500 companies, they moved towards that quadrant, the transnational strategies. But at the end of the day, the message is that companies operating in the global market constantly need to balance between two competing forces. One is the integration force, the cost reduction. In the meantime, another is the revenue creating local differentiation strategy. Okay, other questions? I'm a little bit. Yeah, other question. Yeah?
Yeah, as we know that China has opened its market to the world over 13 years, and many
Over 30 years.
yeah, 30 years. Yeah, there's a lot of famous companies they set up factories in China, but now I found that several countries begin to move the factory back to original land because the labor cost and the overall supply chain hard to control. So I want to know that under this method, how China can face this challenge.
Firstly, we need to be very careful when we talk about move back their production activities. Firstly, where? Right? Move back to, because most of these companies coming from developed countries. And move back to America or move back to other low-cost countries?
Some are to the India or
Vietnam,
some like Japan only move back to Japan.
Give you an example that a company I research is Walmart. Okay, so Walmart is when President Obama said buy America, create jobs for America, and they in Chinese 响应总统号召 and then they said, well, we will, and across America, the Walmart stores, they set up a special area saying buy America. So these t-shirts, these trousers produced by workers in America. So it's lovely, it's very nice. However, if you look at the data, within Walmart every year, guess where is Walmart's global sourcing center in the world? There's only one. China, where? Sorry? Correct, in Shenzhen. And another question, where is IBM's global procurement center? China, of course, and where? Shenzhen, again. Okay, anybody from Shenzhen? You should be very happy about that, find a job there. So that's very interesting. But guess what is the procurement spending every year for Walmart? 40 billion US dollars. 40 billion. 400亿. Among these 40 billion procurement bills, how much they have moved to America? Any idea? Less than 1 billion. Even after President Obama's urged them, go back, create. The point is that the debate in the Western world, in developed countries, that how are we going to do that? It's not about move back production per se. It's quite not innovative way to move back production. But how to reorganize, as you said, the supply chain. Again, in terms of Walmart, you may argue, well, why don't they just move to Vietnam, to Laos, to Indonesia, to Asian countries? Why? Well, China has a special competitive advantage here. They can't move there because China has a fantastic infrastructure. Think why companies want to set up procurement center in Shenzhen in China. If you don't have electricity, if you don't have internet connection, if you don't have roads and ports and airports, how can you do that? You can't. And these kind of massive infrastructure investment is not an overnight achievement. It needs consistent investment, consistent improvement. So it's not easy said, it's really easy said than done. Now what is important to push your argument is how to reconstruct the supply chain. Well, I believe it will take a long time, but in the meantime, instead, we shouldn't think about, oh, it's terrible, they're going to move everywhere. Of course, like a garment industry, they move to Vietnam, but still, if you look at the supply chain, maybe lots of Chinese companies move productions in Vietnam, in Cambodia, okay? And it of course open up local opportunities, but it's a more complex picture there. What instead China needs to be watched out is the impact of technology on the global supply chain. For example, additive manufacturing. Well, this is the engineering department. For example, 3D printing. What does this mean? 3D printing, if the cost is so efficient, then does it mean global companies need a global center for procurement? Because if it's so cheap, then they can meet customer demand locally, whether they are in Africa, in Asia, or in North America, or in Europe. That's the big question one needs to be focused on, not the sort of just move back the productions. Okay? I think I'm messing over time. Sorry about that.
非常感谢那个张杰教授。Globalisation meeting， 所以可能要提前离席，让我们再次感谢一下。那接下来就让我们掌声欢迎那个熊榆教授来给我们讨论一下中英两国之间的这个创新还有商机。
I prepared the slides using Chinese because I thought that all the audience are Chinese. Okay. I have been to UK for 10 years, and I have been an academic in UK for 5 years, and I've been working in a number of universities in UK. I have been in 4 universities actually in UK. So I like the dynamic environment here. Okay, I'm working with the Judge Business School also in the past 5 years. So since I'm not very welcome here. Well, this is a presentation I made actually in Tsinghua University and Zhejiang University and the Ministry for Chinese Science and Technology. Okay. So what I want to address is that it's very important to look at the UK. I'm glad that your universities, okay, want to work with UK. I also know you have a joint Confucius Institute with Leeds University. Okay, so there are many opportunities. I think not only important for the academic and the student in China, but also important to the student in UK because I'm also so-called. You can have a strategic group called a core expert group to advise Department for Business Innovation Skills how to work with China. So we issue document, we issue official government document, okay, so to plan the future of the two countries. And this board have 5 people, I'm one of the 5 people. I can show you one thing that I think is show you a promising future, okay, of China-UK collaboration. So this one, it's a recent signature between the Deputy Minister for Chinese Ministry for Science and Technology, Mr. Wang Zigang. Actually, he is the secretary for this ministry. You know, secretary is equal to minister. And the Minister for Department for Business Innovation and Skills in UK. So this one tells you that in the next 5 years, we will launch a number of programs, okay, so that as a student, okay, you can get funding to study in UK. Okay. As researchers, you have a lot of funding opportunities. And I have a very confidential document, okay, for the draft here. Okay. This one will be signed again in March by the Minister for Science and Technology in China, Wang Gang. Okay. He will come here, all our UK minister will go to China. So I'm giving the final draft. Okay. Which area I need to focus? I will talk about this later. Okay. So, and there are other initiatives. One thing is called the China-UK Innovation Dialogue. This one is important. Okay. They don't call partnership, they don't call collaboration, they call dialogue. Because they want to encourage the discussion, okay, between different levels. Not only government talk to government, not only university talk to university. We want every people talk to people. Okay? People in China talk to people in UK. Not only the senior officials to talk with each other. We want every student they have opportunities. So now we just allocated 200 million. So this is a definite figure. 200 million British pound. Okay. So which means 40 million per year in next 5 years to support what I'm going to introduce. Okay. So the first question I want to ask, why UK? Okay. So in China, we always think US is the number one. We need to work with the US. But in October, in the meeting between me and the Minister for Science and Technology in China, I said, Wang Zigang, I said that you should focus on UK rather than US. Because UK is the most innovative country in the world. Okay, this is the UK's innovation map. I cannot introduce to you in this brief time. Okay, but if you look at this map, okay, so UK only has the world's 1% population, but it's conducted around 4% of world researchers, and around 8% of the world's publications from UK. Okay, and if you look at the high quality, influential researchers, this is more than 14%. Okay, so which means that UK is number one. Okay, if you look at the absolute figure, only US is higher than 14%. It's around 35%. If you look at the absolute figure, but the UK only have 100 universities, while US have more than 2,000 universities. UK have 40 research-led universities, and the US have more than around 300. If you calculate the efficiency from one university, or calculate the efficiency from one academic in UK, I can tell you, UK university, the output is 3 times of US university. Okay. This is why I strongly suggest the government in China to work with the UK. Okay. I believe this is the most strongest evidence. Okay. And if you look at this map, okay, this map is not released by UK to say we are good. Okay. So do you think which one is the UK? The most important research criteria is about how many papers you publish, how many citations you get, what is the influence you can generate. Okay. So which one is the UK? Red one. Okay. So which one is Japan? Yeah, that's good. You have very good. That's why you will study. You can come here to study. Okay. So yes, your answer is right. In this statistics, US is nothing to us. Okay. So cannot do any in every aspect. Okay. UK is the number one, absolutely number one. And but one thing I suggest that we want encourage the university to work with industry, because in this respect about the patent, okay, Japan doing better than UK purely because Japan like to steal the technology from UK and develop their own technology, their own product. Okay. So many Japanese technologies they are based in the UK inventions. So you should feel very proud that you study here. Okay. So well, this is the UK's innovation map. I don't want to spend many time. Okay. And I tell you that to do research to help the innovation across the society can contribute to the economy. Okay. So around 63% of the UK's economy is based on innovation. Okay. So that's why I personally I have interest in innovation. Before my research interest is supply chain, as mentioned by Dr. Jin Zhang earlier. Okay. So supply chain is very important. Okay. How to make the countries work together, but Dr. Jin Zhang worked in a strategic view. Which strategy to use? Okay. Her question is which. But my question is, my subject is operation management. I answer the question how. Okay. So this is a different level. Okay. It's a higher level, and the operation is a lower level. Okay. Do it. Okay. So, well, this is what I predicted in October. I said that UK will definitely. I said to the minister in China. I said that UK definitely will be the #1 partner for China to work with. So only 2 months later, Cameron, during his visit to China, said that UK has the intention to be the strongest, not one of the strongest, okay? It's the strongest advocate of China. Okay, US will have a hesitation to say that because the US considers China as a definitely competitor, but not UK. UK want to follow China's. Okay, and one thing to support is that even UK's researchers and officials, they started to give their ideas on how China can be better. Okay. That's a general purpose. So one thing that for those who are studying in UK, I want you to pay attention to one thing I will introduce later. In the first activity that we're going to sponsor, we're going to fund, is support China's research and innovation infrastructure. Support. Okay. UK try to be a friend. Okay. He is not saying that we take from you, we try to support you. This is in the official document to be signed. Okay. So, well, you can also spend a lot of money pay to LESTA. LESTA is the UK's funding body. Okay. To pay to LESTA to say how China works, how the innovation system in China works. Okay. So it's so they spend a lot of money, but I don't think it's high quality. Okay. So they should give money to the Chinese researchers in China or in UK, maybe can do better than that. So I said that we should fight for these funding opportunities. Okay. So, well, this is some pages that I got from my report. Okay, from this report. Okay. So the first one is that we have about my group, the group that I'm working in. Okay, what is our purpose? We have the government document have a very detailed specification, but our aim is that we hope more and more collaboration happen in individual level. Okay, not only in the government level. Okay, so new ways of supporting and enabling collaborative innovation and translational research. So if you have any idea to me, okay, you can suggest, you think what we can enable you to do more for the two countries, let me know, okay. I can make sure that this is delivered to the ministry in UK. Okay. New opportunities, if you identify any new opportunities, talk to me, and you find any barriers you want to get rid of, you can let me know, and new models. What is the best model, okay, between UK and China? So Japan definitely find a very good model. They don't do very good research, but they just find the technology, okay, in other countries and they develop them into patent. Okay. So, and we will propose proposals, okay, how the two countries can work together, okay, and also we initiate projects. Okay. So if you have any ideas and you want to launch your project, and also you can approach us. Okay. So and this is 5 members in UK. Okay, and one of them, I'm not sure if you know Professor Peter Williamson. He's one of the also in the group in that business school. So we work together, and Professor James Wilson, he is the one to develop the whole UK nation's innovation policy. Okay. So and our role, okay, as a core member, we coordinate all the big players in UK, Technology Strategy Board, Research Council UK, all the research councils. They form the Research Council UK, China Britain Business Council, Intellectual Property Office. Okay, so basically everything related to innovation, invention, and business. Okay, we bring together all of them and tell them how to work with China. Okay, so well, this draft, okay, it's still though confidential, but I give you some bullet point that is not very confidential. Okay. So this is the aim. the primary purpose, okay, to fund joint program, okay, and then there are 8 greatest technologies, okay. You will focus on some. You will check the UK's website about which 8 great technologies. If you are studying social science, don't worry, I'm studying social science as well, okay. But our role is to help. So we are from, if you're from business school like me, okay, our role is to make things happen. We decide which technology to work with, okay. So our role is very important. So this one I already introduced, okay. Support. How you think that China can improve? How you think UK can help? Okay, and support the links, any links between the 2 countries. Okay, so and support the joint research. If you put up a research grant, if you put up on your own, really Chinese universities they just apply by their own universities. Now, if you can identify a very good UK university to work with, or even more, not only 1, maybe 2 or 3, so you are very likely to get the money. Okay. So, of course, we want to support again the China how to make use of their research and get them commercialized. Okay. So this is also very important. And some important times. Okay. Now the next one is implementation. Okay, with the Chinese partners, which is bring together 4 ministries of China, not only the Science and Technology Ministry. So remember one thing that in UK, there is no ministry for science and technology. Okay, we don't call 科技部. Okay, here we call Ministry Department for Business Innovation and Skills, which means that 商务部, okay, 科技部 and 教育部. Okay, everything in one department. So this department control almost everything related to you. Okay, so well, one thing that I would like to promote. Okay, so we organized the China-UK entrepreneurship competition. We bring together UK China's universities. Okay, and if you have any ideas, okay, you can come to this website. Okay, give your proposals. Okay, hi. So my colleague in Judge Business School, Senior Lecturer, Dr. Hou Yun. Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. So we just launched this one in University of Stanford. Okay. So well, that's it for today. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
You just mentioned that UK is the most innovative country in the world, but I think you just focus on the academic level because I think practice skills is very important. For example, China is the country that invented the 4 great inventions that are including the campus, the pounder, but it was the Westerners who firstly applied them and invade China. So I think the innovative skill should not only focus on the academic level. What is your opinion about it?
That's why I said that if we want to look at the commercialization, we learn from Japan. Okay, that is patent. Okay, you raise a very important point. Okay, so we not only invent, we also need to investigate how to use it. Okay, Japan is doing very well. Okay.
Thanks very much for a wonderful lecture. And from your lecture, I can say that you strongly encourage Chinese government to cooperate with the British government. I want to know that if you have any suggestions for Chinese enterprises that want to invest in
Chinese
enterprises.
Enterprises. Okay. So what do they want to invest in UK?
There are different directions they want to invest in the UK. I haven't seen any news about this, but I think that you are more professional in this. What kind of industry can Chinese corporations invest in UK?
Yeah, I already mentioned that there are 8 great technologies. Okay, UK. Okay. If you want to say invest in technologies, okay, you can buy this one. The UK is leading in these technologies. If you think about the different industries, you better read some latest development, like UK opened its banking system, opened the property development industry, and now maybe they want to work more on manufacturing. So this one, you should check the latest information. You can go to UK Trade and Investment. Okay, you will find the latest business opportunities. Okay, you type in Google UK Trade and Investment. Okay.
那就感谢那个徐一老师。下面呢，我们就有请那个蒲军教授给大家讨论一下这个中国海外投资方面的情况。大家欢迎。
There is no microphone here. And hello everyone, my name is Pujun. Not Putin, right? And so actually our topic is about globalization. And now in China, first I have a question. How many of you can't understand Chinese? Just let me know. No. Okay, that's great. So something that is quite secret, I will say in Chinese. We have camera here. So actually for the globalization now in China, that is midnight. So I hope the following words will not be the nightmare, right? And my lecture will not be the daydream. So I think thanks to Professor Shou. Thanks for your good start and tell us the big business opportunities for in technical parts. And also thanks for, Professor Zhang, and just to have a short introduction about different kinds of views of globalization. So my topic is very simple. Thanks, I was saying so many times in I have to say, I work in a practitioner ways. I work for investment bank, I work for IBM. Actually, I take part in the procurement center. So when procurement department had reviewed, just in 1997, so I was a building team member here. So here, when we have the lectures, we were just talking about some real business opportunities instead of such kind of the research plan or business competition. We are just talking about something real, right? So first, when we talk about something like this, I think most of you come from China, or all of you from China. So when we close the door and we can have a question, so what can we do here? If, just like Professor Zhang said, then we have a globalization. So at least we have to share our points of view to what can we do? What can we do as a Chinese? Or as somebody has some relationship to China, what can we do and for the future for ourselves, not for anyone else? So we have something here. This is why we have to go global. There is a translation just about 20 years ago. In 1992, the Ministry of Commerce in China just mentioned a kind of concept. We say 走出去 in Chinese. And the first translation should be go out. Going out strategy. Going out strategy. Be forced to out of this room. So later on, the translation changed to go global. I think much better. So we are talking about globalization here. So now I think I think Professor Zhang will just mention different stages of globalization. And now we have globalization 3.0. And so we have different kinds of understandings of the concepts, jargons, terminologies about the firms which is taking part here. So we have transnational, we have international, and we have global firms. So when we have this, pay attention to that. This is not something you may do. This is something you have to do. So that's why you're here. Right? That's why you are here. Globalization of education. And that's why the UIB teams are here. So of that, we have to do that. But at the same time, and for the business purpose, if we look at some data here, this is the data from the PBOC, People's Bank of China, People's Bank PBC or PBOC, and the SAFE, State Administration Office for Foreign Exchange. I don't know whether everybody get familiar with this, but I think SAFE, you must deal with SAFE, right? Otherwise, you cannot pay your tuition here. But pay attention to something here. I notice here is a very special. And this is something other investment, this green. This is just like a balance sheet. When we have some asset here and we have some liabilities. And this is something others own to us. And pay attention, this is inward FDI. So pay attention to the Fortune 500. They just go into China just about 35 years ago. And so accumulatively, they have about 2,160. Pay attention to the things. This is billion, quite big. And also we have portfolio investment. This is something like the administrative bureau under the safe. They're taking charge of what kind of the foreign exchange should we have. And we have other investment, which just means the investment category include trade, credit, loans, currency, and deposit and other investment. But now we must pay attention to the things we have, not what the others do on us. So this is the asset part. Pay attention to that. The other investment, something that is very bigger, and that is quite big. That's more than 1,000 billion US dollars, almost 1 in 7 of the GDP. And also, here we have the portfolio investment quite small. And we only have about 500, pay attention to 1/4, a quarter of the inward FDI. So outward FDI currently is very small. So we have to go global, but when we go global, we are kids. We are kids. So actually yesterday when Peter Buckley, a very famous Peter Buckley, I don't know whether you know him. Yeah, actually I didn't know him just about a couple of months ago. I mean, know him well. But a very interesting concept comes out just for his lecture. We are saying we have matrix here, and so something you have to know. And whether you know something you have to know. Then we have the matrix. First stage, for the past 30 years, for this part, we just get something when we don't know, we don't know. We are brave. So if we put such a big state-owned enterprise go global, they just buy the word, just like Japanese had done just several years ago, no, a couple of years ago. But now we find out China now, maybe we don't know something that is very, very substantial to the success of the ODI, that is outbound or outward direct investment. So if you look at all those data, and then we could come to here. This is something we have for the 2013. This is the big events just for mergers and acquisitions for Chinese outwards mergers and acquisitions. Pay attention to UK. So Professor Sheng has gone. So maybe you can find out. Here we have some UK things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Accounts a quite large percentage. What does that mean? That means Chinese just invest a lot here, especially in 2013. And normally they're a big deal. They're not small deal, they're a big deal. So pay attention to the first one. Everybody knows that. When you come back and you can see, hey, when I just buy something in the airport, I just paid 10% of the interest to our company. It's very hard for me to say our, right? But to China company. So that is CIC, China Investment Corporation. Very big firms who own about 400 billion US dollars for asset. And also we have some kind of these things we have here. Yeah, this is Weetabix. You know Weetabix. And also how much do we own? That's 60%. On my food, brighter food. You know brighter food. 光明食品. Why? Why are you laughing at? So things we normally think 光明食品. Oh, forgot that. But pay attention to. We have lots of the opportunities and we have more opportunity than before just to succeed. Not just for the enterprises, but also for the persons who work here, who study here, and who will all study or work here. And maybe the UIB teams, right? So when you have such kind of things, from the business person's point of view, the problem is that why it is the case. We must know the reasons. And I have to summarize the reasons in short, since my time is quite limited. The first one, actually, we have to go. We have to go. Why? We are rich. We have $3 trillion for foreign exchange reserve. That just means we have full of money. I can buy nothing in domestic markets. Why it is the case? People in China, normally they just save the money. Actually, the general production of the goods is not enough. So we go abroad. That's question number, no, that's reason number one. Reason number two, thanks, 感谢金融危机。当别人都不太好的时候，我们发现我们又有钱，机会又来了。Okay, maybe no one knows, right? So it is very good for us to have the opportunities. So intrinsically, and we have ability, and if we go to the outside of the world, we have the opportunity, then quite match. So from 2008 to 2008, and for the past 5 years, we invest a lot. So this is the reasons. But the next point is, who will go abroad? Now you go abroad, right? I went abroad, but now I'm in UK. Actually, I think I visited 21 different countries around the world. So I have to say, now it's very hard for me to know Chinese in some country, especially in shops, right? So, when we have such kind of things, but the problem is that when we say China's OFDI, that just means Chinese governments or Chinese enterprise or individuals. I think, tonight we will go to Chinatown. Restaurants, I think most of the Chinese restaurants were invested by Chinese. They are individual, outbound foreign direct investment. That's quite a lot, but account for quite small amounts in the total sum. Only account for 0.8% accumulated. So individual, not 30%. Government, think of case of the state-owned enterprise. I can't mention the name since it will be recorded. Right? Some listed companies in China, state-owned enterprises, have a big project in Middle East from Saudi Arabia to build a subway. And if you are in business, you must learn this case. How much they lose? They lose 4.1 billion just for a single project. That just means about 17 years of profit. Oh, but I have to say, it's okay. It's okay. We are rich, right? So 4 billion, quite small. We have 3 trillion. Think of it. We have 3 trillion. Another case about CIC. Now CIC holds 10% of the Heathrow Airport holdings. But if we look backwards to the investment to Blackstone, you know Blackstone, right? Just like KKR and the TPG, Texas Pacific Group. Oh, you may not be familiar with this, but this is the only foreign private equity who own national-owned backed shares in China. So this is, we have so many different cases. So government and state-owned enterprises, no, not the future. So if you look at all those kind of data, I will show you. The blue one, that is the government, that is state-owned enterprises. But pay attention to the yellow one. From here, you can see the yellow one comes out more and more. So the private sectors will account more, just for the OFDI. So the second question, the first question is the reason. Second question is the who. The firms, private firms who may use the market as the judge, as the criteria for their future success. 再说点不能跟外国人说的，用中文说，对吧？18届三中全会市场化，对吧？就是什么样的企业未来会越来越多的走出去？很简单，就是那些私营部门的，然后以市场为导向的，他们会出去的更多。换句话来讲，从在座我们说剑桥的学生，你们以后更大的机会会在哪儿？不会是那些国有企业，可能更多的是我们的私营企业。所以 So pay attention to Huawei. This is a very, very successful story in China. So we have a brighter future, and we will have. So number 2. But can you promise that? Maybe you say, hey, Professor Pu, can you promise that? Then I will never join the business competition just for business plan. I will just do it by myself. I will devote myself in some corporations. Can you promise my future? Sorry, I can't. Things in China, when we say opportunities, normally we connect opportunity with another one. That's risk. Exactly. So that's risk. So what kind of risk will we have? If we just look at all those data, since we do not have time, but you can just look afterward. And they just say, the changing patterns and the fast growth doesn't mean everything. We still have some challenges. The first challenge is we are still very small. Think of the case. We have BRICS. Think of the BRICS. Brazil. And we have Russia. Brazil and Russia account about 4 times as much of the, OFDI, around the world than China and India. So we are a small potato. Although we are very rich, 但是我们只是土豪而已。The second thing is just about the structure. What kind of the things will we invest? Pay attention to the big events. We seldom own more than the majority. We seldom own more than 50%. We are learner. We just say, hey, you are the genius. I just give you some money and take me in the game. 带我玩一玩, right? So if it is the case, the structure, we still have some problem. And then for the government support, how hard for you to pass the government ratification system? If you want to go out of China for the enterprise level, normally you have to get 14 stamps. But the problem is that one department of government may ask you to get another government's stamp so that they can get stamped. 最明显的就是商务部和外管局经常说，外管局让你去商务部盖完章之后，外管局给你盖章；去商务部说你去外管局盖完章，我就给你盖。Dilemma, right? So you must put them together. But if you are very familiar with Beijing, Ministry of Commerce locating the east part, say locating the west part, and you know the traffic jam. And also we have mine, right? And so government support, but thank God. Now we are in Great Britain, and the government decided to do something to solve the traffic jam and the fogging. So it's very hard for you to buy your own car since you have to just join the lottery game. And then the last 2 things, very important. The first one should be human resource. So everybody here, maybe you're from the Cambridge team and from the UVA team, you might be the future human resource. Very, very, very luxury traveler for globalized enterprises. Actually, I don't care what kind of measure you have. Actually, I care your experience. You have experience here, that just means you have the very, very easy understanding of the globalization. And you can win. So, human resource. And so hope you can contribute a little bit more, first to yourself. 中国的企业会比外国企业给你付更高的工资。如果你在这儿的话， 当然回国咱另说。So after that, maybe you can contribute a little more to the company, and then to the country. So I think 10 years ago we have a different rank. 第一个，我们要求你为国家做贡献，最后你再满足自己的生存需要。But now I think the whole government, I mean the central government, just changed. First, you must fulfill your own needs, and know that you can fulfill the needs for society. So the last, the culture. I don't know whether you have problems to communicate with the others, but I think they have some. The have some doesn't mean we have to have some problems. I just say we have different styles. We have Chinese style and we have Greek Britain style. And even the God have different style, right? So rain, right? So, but in Chinese cultures, and we have some kind of things. In English, right? So, but I don't think foreigners are quite understand this well. It's very hard. And we say benevolence. What's the meaning of benevolence?
我要求不高，在座谁能用中文给我解释一下什么叫人
And not human being, right? I mean, benevolence. It's very hard. It's very hard. Even Chinese can understand that. Second, wisdom. Yes, we can. But what kind of things could be wisdom? 其实应该是智还是慧 It's very hard. The Chinese culture, we have different kind of meanings. Maybe later on, I have to say, and because of time, Professor Lian cannot give you a lecture, but later on, if you read the book, we call it Android. 大家如果看过国内有本书叫《蚁族》的话，那个作者真人坐在那儿，对吧？So maybe I think Professor Lian will just to show you more things, but the last one should be harmony. All the central doctrine, 中庸 and 和谐, right? So what does that mean? That just means I lose and you win. Normally we understand in this way. So what kind of, another very, I think UB team, you have a very interesting topic. We call the gentle education or gentleman. Gentle culture. Oh, okay. So what's the meaning of a gentle? Was it let others happy? No, that's not the core. So the culture, we have cultural shock. 我们会有文化冲突，我们会有震撼，就是我们说 no， 翻译的不对，应该叫做文化休克。就是你从一个文化进入到另外一个文化的时候，我们会休克。I don't think UIB team you may have 我想你的文化如何是很好的，我从来没见到你们在买东西的时候 have some problems. But if you stay longer, if you just want to take some of the interest for the local society, think of the case Chinese businessmen when they go into some economic bodies, just for example, Greece, and we have international students from Greece, Anna, right? So if you go there, you can say their working time, their working style, their understanding of business are quite different. So my key point here is that after we notice we have a phenomenon of fast growth of OFDI of China, we have opportunities and we have the reasons why it is the case. We have inward and outward reasons, and then we still have problems. The problems we have fun. The last but not least, that should be the culture. Culture is something you know, but you never can explain exactly. And so, what kind of things can we do? We just step by step improve the understanding of each other. So sometimes we may find a calling just because you don't understand me. So the furthest distance is you sit in front of me. I can't understand. So I hope that is not the case for today. Thanks today, that is Valentino's Day. So I will use the last sentence to close my lecture. That is, Happy Valentino's Day. hope you just enjoy my daydream or nightmare, and I hope you can just really enjoy the later communication with two teams. I think that will just make things better. Thank you so much. I think the questions could be asked not for me only, but I think both sides. This is really a good chance for you just to communicate. But I will join, and the real person of Professor Lian, I think he might join. Okay, so questions? Which side? To which side? Do we have questions for FDI? And I was told this is the open forum for the last 10 minutes, and for both sides, just ask questions freely.
对，我们也鼓励大家就是用中文、英文都可以，就不一定非限制到英文。
我有一个问题，就是说，因为我们家在国外待了很多年，然后我们家做的一直是一个传统的就是销售的行业。然后就按照那个教授刚才说的，相当于某种角度来讲，我们可以被理解为土豪这种节奏。然后父母没有读过书，初中毕业的。但是现在越来越多的这种中国人，在国外有一大批这样的中国人，他们发现说，在国外可能生存下去更难生存下去。他们希望将他们的资本回笼起来，找到一个新的方向去投资，就是相当于是一个 individual investor。然后这个形式在这种时候，我就会想一个问题。就是说，跟中国相比的话，我们是相对于来说是继续留在欧洲，还是把我们的资金回笼到中国去？因为这么多年来，我们看到中国的发展是很显性的，我们可以看到中国发展就是非常的迅速。可能有些人认为说中国发展可能更好，但是有些人认为说可能是 risk， 可能会选相对于来说会留在欧洲。但我也不清楚说哪一种节奏更好，哪一种方向会更加的理性化。
It's a question for me also. 不，这是问我的问题还是问学生们？
还
是问大家的问题？
我不知道，对我只要有一个求解答。百度。
是这样的，我觉得可以分享一下，因为我还是做了几年投行，我在 IBM 摩托罗拉。还有一个现在还不能讲的投行啊，做过几年，然后我去做 professor。但是其实非常重要的是什么呢？从投资的角度上来，在哪其实不重要。你其实永远都在比较的是效率，而不是最后的效果。能不能赚钱？我相信只要中国人很勤奋，都会赚钱。但是我们 care 的是如何更快的赚钱。你放在英国能不能赚钱？我相信大部分还是有可能的。但是问题是在于你在英国可能会获得5%，在中国你可能获得500%。问题是你会选哪个？这个问题其实并不难，大部分都会选择500%。但是重点的问题是你如何去获得？你有没有这样的一个机会？就是你在英国的资本再重新回到国内的时候，有没有这种渠道？这是很重要的。也就是说，我们现在的问题是，大部分人他就出去了回不来了，原来是出不去，所以现在地下钱庄非常火，underground 对，就是地下钱庄，钱，但是我可以告诉你大致的流向，现在是流出去的会更多，依然是流出去的会更多。但是从投资的角度上来讲，中国经济有没有问题？你其实更多的是在讨论说，中国经济未来是不是能够像以前那样的更加健康、有序、快速增长？
因为之前许多年都是说经济增长GDP大于8%，然后今年开始实施软着陆，然后接下来可能说偏向一种比较稳定的增长，但可能说稳定的增长的话，你可能发现相对而言机会就不会可能说的那么多这样。
第一个，简单来讲，中国实际上是个就是叫做 multi-layer market， 是个多层次的市场。你在北京看到的只是中国市场的一部分，很小的一部分。那么换句话来讲，如果我们看东南沿海在过去30年得到如此迅速的发展，那么中部还没发展，西部也没有发展，沿边可能跟沿海会有很大的差异。所以，如果你只要把握住适当的，比如说传统的制造或者是消费类的行业，那么中国其实还是有很大的潜力可以挖。相比较英国而言，中国的经济的战略纵深 也就是我们说的这个 the thickness of the economy， 应该比英国会更多一点。也就是说，东方不亮，西方亮。你有机会的话，当然现在我们更多的说西方不亮，东方亮的问题，对吧？我觉得你总是可以找到机会的。问题是在于你如何在进入中国的时候熟悉中国，因为你刚才说到，你好像已经在英国熟悉，特别是你被当成一个中国人的时候，你是不是还能用当代 contemporary Chinese business person's point of view to negotiate？ 所以这个可能会是一个问题。所以又回到那个，就是你住了很多年，回去最大问题不是钱，不是项目，还是理解中国经济。比如说，现在我们有最简单的例子，比如说我们经常说高大上，对吧？对方说高大上的时候，可能没有听过。今天我们还在讨论另外一个词，叫徐老师，
希腊普论。
比如说
希腊普论吧。
哎，对，希腊普论，对吧？当别人说这种词的时候，
希腊普论，
对。所以，当然you can Google that, right? So what's the meaning of that? 但是我想说的是，文化的冲击可能反过来对你是一个负面的，如果有效的化解，可能对你的未来经济是很重要的。但总体来讲，中国经济应该在未来的5到10年还会继续增长。关键是你还有别的投资机会吗？你如果你可以不选中国。那么对于你的 family 或者是你自己的 business 来讲，还有别的市场，比如说你现在在英国有吗？欧洲有吗？如果这2个都没有，还是你会有南非、印度，或者如果你看高盛 Bloomberg 的信息 ，Indonesia 印度尼西亚 I don't know, depends on you. Thank you.
反正是个交流的一个论坛，那就说的比较轻松一点。首先呢，我特别的代表我们活动的主办方吧，特别的欢迎在这个重要的节日里，我们来自对外经贸大学的老师们以及同学们来我们剑桥跟我们做这么一个非常 excellent 的这么一个讲座。那也是今天没有给大家准备到元宵，那借着这个东风呢，先祝大家元宵节快乐。因为刚才老师也说到这个文化冲击的问题，我们也是一个这种自由交流的一个环节，就不要那么严肃。正好想问问老师们以及各位对外经贸大学的同学们，来了也有1周了，对于那个英国这边的各方面的文化呀、的建筑，包括其他人文方面有什么自己的感触，可以跟我们交流一下。也欢迎你们将来来到英国这边来读书。大家可以随便说，谁是哪批同学们是对外经贸大学的？举一下手。好，我们一个热烈掌声欢迎。有没有谁谈谈自己这2天的感受？吃的怎么样？我们这里有一个 international 的学生，那他会非常非常好的中文，有没有？对吧？你是来自哪里的？
我是希腊中文。
没有人好。
我想问一下，因为我们那天跟一群英国人在座谈，然后他们说，因为金融危机的原因，英国经济不好，所以现在英国人脸上的笑容比5年前都少了。我们来了多少年？但是我想问一下，你们是不是觉得英国他们这种民族的性格是什么？他们是不是比较严肃，或者是不是很开朗？你们怎么感受这个社会的？另外，第2个问题就是，你们觉得牛津跟剑桥的风格和学生的风格有什么区别？
我先说我个人观点哈，我们剑桥这边叫牛津，叫 the other university，the other place， 对，他们叫我们也是一样，就是我们就跟中国的清华北大就是互相看不起。但是真的是很诚心的说，承认的话，就是剑桥这边在理工类、理科方面及科学方面是比较出众的，包括83个诺贝尔学奖获得者，其中有40几个应该是剑桥的，其中有38个是出自我们的 Trinity College， 好像是这么一个 number， 我不太确定啊。然后牛津那边的人文以及它的政治方面还真是挺厉害的，就是2个学校是都有千秋的。至于英国人，我因为也来英国不久，2年的时间，我的积累，我觉得英国人非常 gentleman， 就真的是，就即使他现在跟你就怒到他非常生气，他肯定不会骂你。 对，他就顶着走开了，然后我觉得他们很绅士，包括 ladies 如果来了以后，他会给你让座，拉开椅子，然后坐好。然后我们现在我看学术部长的，我有些同学在这边的这习惯就非常的绅士。我有一次之前看到他去那个餐馆就餐的时候，那些绅士帮女士先把衣服拿下来，然后拿到旁边挂起来，然后再过来拎椅子，然后女生坐下再推进去。
这个是waiter 还是他的朋友？
对，朋友就是朋友，就比如说我们他这
还是
吃饭
上的路人，就是路人，
不是路人甲，不是的，路人会吓着的，当然是朋友。
但说到路人的话，我觉得有一个东西，他们人与人之间的 interaction 要比中国要好。比如说你在路上，你看到一个人，他至少会对你有一个目光的交流，然后会说就是说会简单的打个招呼，就是哪怕普通的在公园碰到说个 hi 或者 good morning， 很简单的。那可能这方面确实，我觉得国外跟中国是有一定。你去公园看到陌生人，很少会去真的会主动说你早上好或 hi 这些的。对，我觉得这个是确实他们比较在social 这方面的能力，确实我觉得他们是比较偏向于外向型，跟人打交道，可能跟他们本身一个民族的特性也有关系。
但是我能肯定一点，就是我觉得在这边感受到中国人学习工作确实很容易。就是老外的话，我就基本上到下午5、6点的时候，就是 office 里面没有人，但是中国人还会很努力的工作。我觉得这也是为什么律师会强大起来的一个原因。
但是我想问一下，就是我们现在是在那个其他学校有进行一些关于国际交流或者国际项目方面的一些调研，然后通过就像问他们，包括跟他们交流，就发现说英国的那个同学他们自身是很不愿意出国的，不愿意出英国。我不知道是不是就是说全部的一个，但是通过我的那个就是交流或者观察来看的话，他们很多同学表态就是说，英国的同学普遍不愿意出去，不愿意尝试其他国家，甚至是欧盟可能都不特愿意。但是他们这边主要是说用英国的教育来吸引就是各地的世界的学生过来到英国，他们认为英国教育的这个国际化主要是在输入方面，就他们在本土用他们的教育来吸引就是很多其他外来国家的人，但他们本身是不愿意走出去进行相关的一些交流或者说是了解的。包括就是对于中国的了解方面，我觉得相比于美国来讲，英国这边好像会显得不是特别的好。
但是其实有很多英国人，就是他选择不出去工作是有一些原因的，比如他们会就是在业余时间或者是高中毕业、大学毕业，他们会选择几个月的时间去到世界各地去体验。当他们体验完了，他们会对自身就是重新一个定义。他们不是说不想去外国去学习什么，但是我觉得英国人有一些自身的特点吧，他每个人就是比较喜欢去分享，就是自己学到了什么，不像就有的时候我们可能中国人就是有一些新的知识就喜欢往内收，而不是跟大家去分享。他们会把自己就是之前的 internship 去别的国家去交流的这些经验相互分享，然后最后他们选择还是最适合的地方还是自己的国家。
就是说他们还是会有 gap year 那种形式的体验。
对，他们很注重体验，他们不会像我们中国人一样，就是高中完了就上大学，大学完了就上研究生这样，他们一定会有1年或半年的时间来休憩一下，就重新去体验一下生活。
就一般是在高中毕业或者大学。
对，很多人你就会发现，你来这儿你会看到很多有60、70岁的老人长者，他们来这儿就是从大1、大2重新读，或者是研究生。在国外就是没有任何的界限，你在任何年龄你都可以学习，所以你经常会看到就是在图书馆有很多老人，你真的是很敬佩他们。
我好奇一个问题，就是像那个就是各位到英国来了之后，对于英国的法律或者是制度方面，是会有一个系统的学习，还是说是通过一点一点知道，就通过一些事情？
法律为什么通过法律？其实说实话，我不是商学院的学生， 我是 UEA 发展学院，我学的是传媒与国际发展。但是我对商业还是有一点兴趣。怎么说呢？假如你想要了解一个国家，了解这块的文化，你一定要去融入到这个国家这个生活之中。你去跟英国人去多交流，去多看当地的报纸，然后去一些小店去见一些你没有见过的东西。只有深入那个生活，你才明白什么是真正的英国。但我来这很短。去年8月才。
就其实我不能说英国的感觉，我自己的体验是，我们从来没有所谓说系统的学习一个法律的体系，都是就按照中国老话讲是摸着石头过河这样子，就是从错误中学习到一点啊，知道这东西不行，这东西不行。当然中途挫折很多，我的体验是这样子。
那你们学业之后有什么打算吗？打算留在这里？
其实我还是想问蒲教授一个问题，就是很真实的一个问题，没有那么高端，就是最真实的问题就是您给我们这些国际学生，无论是从那个对外经贸过来的学生，还是在这儿读书的学生，因为我们很多都是一直在上学，没有真正的开始自己的第一份工作，是选择留这面还是回国？是什么样的？因为我们有的时候学自己所学的东西，可能当你30岁发现我们之前的本科生和研究生学的东西并不是我未来的那个职业，所以就是最简单的问题，我们第一份工作就是取决于什么样的方向？是跟着自己内心去走呢，还是有一个机会就去抓住？
其实这个问题，真实回答很简单，你只要处理好2个问题就行了。第一个，你的兴趣在哪？第二个，你的能力在不在那个你兴趣点之上？举个最简单的问题，比如说我很喜欢 soccer， 对吧？英文也叫 soccer， 对吧？美国叫 football。那么，但是我经常踢。但是呢，我现在原来靠速度，现在靠力量，后来靠重量，面积，现在我靠意识，就是我有这个兴趣，但我没有这个能力了。所以这种可能对于你来讲，你虽然很感兴趣，但是你还要看看你有没有这个能力。如果你在你的又有兴趣又有能力的里头，那我觉得你肯定是往这个方向走。但是我们现在的情况是，这个话题其实让连教授讲的最好了，他是蚁族的作者啊，这个社会学家。但是简单来讲，现在我们很多问题是不是你的能力不够？注意，你的那个能力不是你的能力不够，是这个环境社会环境给予你提供的条件不够，就是你有能力，社会没能力。比如说 I'm very very excellent， 但是今年不招。明年也不招，后年经济危机，就是连续3年都不招，那可能你就做不了这事儿。所以简单来讲，我觉得这个 follow your heart， 对 ，not follow the wind， 那个我觉得这是肯定要做的。但是有的时候并不妨碍你曲线救国。就是我们说现在我们这条路可能不通，但是我可以找一个相关的，或者是哪怕是非常远，但是对于你未来从事某一个工作非常有帮助的那个方向，我觉得是完全可以做的。但重要的是，在你形成你的兴趣和你的能力的时候，能力不是你天生有的，兴趣可能是你天生有的，你去如何累积你的能力。然后这个问题其实很复杂，就是你的那个问题不复杂，问题是我往什么地方去累积能力。
对。
然后那么这个就要靠1、2、3、4、5读书，就是你前面4个是控制不了，最后你稍微控制一点，就是通过读书，对吧？所以前面很多的东西，很多都是我们说你的命运，对吧？所以有的时候你其实是很难解释的，但是我觉得事在人为，就是说你做的所有事情，按照我的人生经验来讲，和我看到的人生经验来讲，都不会浪费。
这点谢谢老师。
好，谢谢。
行，我们有其他问题，我们就下去交流吧，好吧？
一样的。然后大家同学们一起过来照个相，然后做个纪念。
把那个灯打开。